Hi everyone, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and thank you so much for tuning into one of our talks today. We are a year-round talk series bringing you the best creative voices across film, television, and theater. And today we're joined by Samuel Arnold, who is currently starring in the Netflix series Emily in Paris. And I was really interested in kind of what the production looked like on the back end for this show, because it was such an international production, you know, between America and between Paris. And you know, there's always different sensibilities and ways of approaching work. So kind of what was the environment like on set and the way that everybody collaborated together as a result of that?
I feel like it was like, one big school where everybody would like feed each other with work methods and differences, between the two cultures. And I think like everyone was really impressed by the way each other would work. And there was a lot to learn from each other all the time. Yeah.
What were the main differences between cast approaches? Because, you know, every actor already comes in with an individual style and how they like to work with the scripts, what they like to do right before filming a scene. So what were kind of some of the main differences between the cast and how that all came together cohesively?
In the work, it didn't really, you couldn't really feel the difference, it just merged together, you know what I mean? The difference was more cultural, we would like make fun of each other, as like the French will do something away, like, for example, like Philippine would tell me that before, like during the lunch break, we would have, like in France, we would have wine during lunch break. We don't anymore, but that's something that was like totally alien to the Americans, like having wine at lunch break during work. That was more, the differences were more cultural. In the work, we were like, we all merged together. So we blended all the differences together.
Yeah. And how much development did you want to do on your character before you walked onto set that first day? And how much did you want to just kind of leave it up to that discovery in the moment once you were with the rest of the cast and seeing how they were playing their characters in the scenes with you?
Yeah, well, I just felt like, the character was very exciting and deserved a lot of work. So I just created this little world, to myself and I came in with what we are seeing today. And I was very supported by the team in which choice to take, where to take the character, and how to present it to the audience. And but I put quite a lot of amount of work into his physicality and his sassiness and all that we can see.
Yeah, and the costumes are such a central part, and particularly to your character, it seems like it's something that he's very passionate about in terms of fashion. How much do the costumes help you really kind of discover extra layers of your character, particularly with Julian?
Like, what was funny is that, as an actor, you work, for your character, you're trying to get into the thing, and sometimes you struggle, sometimes it's easier, but then I got lucky enough to work with Patricia Field on costumes, and you would wear something and boom, you feel the part. That's crazy. Yeah, and he was so extravagant, so boom, that it was very, very easy for me to differentiate myself from him.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I love about your performance specifically is the comedic timing and the sarcasm that you pull into it and the cynicism, but you do it at exactly the right moment in each of the scenes. Even if you're just coming in for a brief moment and a couple of lines, there's a really strong presence to it. Was that kind of very easy for you to find within the script and within the writing, or was it something that you played around with a little bit?
Yeah, no, I think it was really well written, and very obvious for me when I was reading the script. Even at the table read, I could like found those moments. And thank you for the writing, because it helped a lot, and it makes it feels really organic. You know what I mean? And I didn't feel like I had to work for that timing and comedic timing. It felt very natural.
Yeah, and because you were just mentioning doing table reads, which sometimes happens on a television series and sometimes it doesn't, were there kind of things that you really discovered about Julien, or kind of beats and rhythms to his delivery found from that table read?
Yeah, relationships, I think. I realized who was who to each other during the table read. like which I couldn't really see while I was reading the script by myself. But then you hear the voices of other characters coming to life, you know. And you're like, oh, okay, so you're like that, and you and I are connected this way. And yeah, you discover a lot during the table read in that
Yeah.
sense.
Was there much of a rehearsal process either before you started filming or just kind of workshopping an individual scene right before you would film it?
At the beginning, yes. At the beginning, yes, we've seen each other a bit to work on, to work on our few scenes and on the relationships, and we just gave, a starting boost, and then from there we were launched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you a little bit about working with Lily Collins, because the relationship between your two characters goes on such a journey where at the beginning there's a little bit of animosity and a little bit of distance, and then you kind of gradually warm up to her and let her into your space and become kind of a great advocate to her towards the end of the series. And so I was really interested in how the two of you worked together to develop those different beats to their relationship.
Well, it's weird because like when I met Lily, we started to develop a friendship quite similar to the friendship we have on screen. You know, it's like it was a very, I could say, like girly friendship. You know, like Lily, yay! And I think that helped a lot to develop this chemistry and this. At the beginning, it's like, I feel like, Julian is the fashion boy of the office, and then you see that woman come into the office dressed like that, and it's like, oh no, hell no, you're not taking my place here. You know what I mean? But then he sees her as an equal, and the relationship I had with Lily helped a lot to get that on screen as well.
Yeah, I love how much it seems like as a cast, you not only bonded on set, but you really spent a lot of time together outside of filming. And I saw that great picture that you posted where Ashley Park took you croissant making. But is that a really valuable thing? Because then when you're on set and you're shooting scenes together, you have a natural rhythm, you have a natural shorthand and dialogue together. So how was that really kind of unique and different? And how did that help you in terms of your performance when you were filming the show?
Well, it felt it was really helpful. It wasn't on purpose, but it was really helpful during the shooting process because then you feel at home and with family more than at work, which means that you're freer to try and experiment and go further into the scenes, into anything. You know what I mean? Because like you trust people because you've been spending time with them and sharing things with them. So you trust them to create something beautiful.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you about working with Darren Starr, because Darren Starr always has such a specific voice and such a specific tone, and the worlds that he builds are so visual. And so kind of like, what were the valuable conversations that you had the opportunity to have with him in terms of figuring out and understanding who Julianne was going to be?
Well, he's very clear in what he wants. Like he's an artist, really, and that's what I loved about him. About it was really all about art, an artistic view, and all his characters were very well. How do you say that? Very well described. It was very clear from day one. So every time he would come and say something, it would go like it would just shine a light into my head and go like, oh yeah, okay, that's what you mean. That's what you want. All right, let's do it. It makes it easy. It makes it easy.
That's so wonderful. And was this the first time that you were working with multiple directors? Because there are a few different directors on the series. So it's interesting working with them and the different way that they would come in, but to tell the same story, and particularly with Andrew Fleming also directing, I think about 6 of the episodes, and how that was really useful to you.
Well, it was great to work this way. I never worked like that before because it would always, refresh everything. It would refresh everything all the time. All the directors we had were great and brilliant, but they are different view and different way of working, but they were all going into the same direction. And to us as actors, it would just, just like I said, refresh everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was the first time that you were playing one of the lead characters on a TV series and having to develop an entire arc. Kind of how was that a hugely different process in the amount of work that you did on the character and the way that you thought about developing the character, not just for one scene, but how they were going to evolve and change throughout the entire series from other projects that you had worked on before?
Well, it makes it working in a, you know, that was, yeah, like you said, it was my first time working on such a long journey with the same character. So on TV, so it makes it more, how do you say that? Your involvement with the character gets more and more personal, you know what I mean? And you almost like start to miss the character sometimes because you're not on set. And yeah, so the work never stopped. The work never stopped. We were shooting during three months and a half, something like that. And you're always working in your head. You're in the transport, public transport, and you're thinking like, oh, what will Julian do right now? You know, what would he say to that person? What would he, you know, you're always working and da 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 da, like quick thinking in your head because you're just into that pool during 3 months and a half. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's really different from, you know, small roles in anything else.
Yeah, because you were just mentioning missing a character when you're not playing them, particularly with this one, kind of what do you miss most about playing him now that the season has wrapped?
Dressing well. He's dressing so well. I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, the clothes were amazing. And also his freedom is way more free than me. Like, is way more, you know, he allow himself to go, you know, to be way more big and free and fun. And that was amazing to be like that.
Yeah. I also, you have such an amazing French cast who've been in so many things, and you got to share a number of scenes with Philippine Droy-Bewley. And I wanted to ask you about the experience of working with her and the things that you really got to learn from sharing scenes with her and just watching the way that she works, because she's been in such an astounding number of films and series over the years.
Well, what I liked about her is the fact that she is 100% a professional, a real professional. And you learn a lot just by watching this kind of actors. You know what I mean? Like everything she does, you know, it's for a reason. And she's very organized, and she has something to do, and it's done. And then I watched the series and I was like, oh, that's what happened when you're that professional. Like the result is amazing, you know? And so yeah, I've learned a lot from her, you know, like dedication, like you get results.
Yeah. And one of the other series that you got the opportunity to star in recently was Platane, which aired on Canal+. And I was really interested in kind of what that experience is like when you're going into a television show and you're just really showing up for that one episode, but your role's so crucial, and kind of like how you navigate when you step onto set, because you have a very short amount of time to understand how everybody is already working together and to kind of absorb yourself into their world.
Well, the director, who's also starring in the series as the main character, is a very, very generous and funny, and I mean, he's a kid in his head, you know. So you just go on set, and you don't know what happened. You just have fun. I thought I was coming to work, you know what I mean, and I just felt like I was in the kindergarten, like playing all day. So you don't even think about like trying to fit in. You're already with the crew, and it goes so fast, and then it's done. You're like, wow, it felt like a train, you know. But yeah, the experience in Platane was like very fun. I had a lot of fun.
And because you had that experience of knowing what it's like to walk onto a television show where you're coming in for the first time and everything is already in motion, kind of how did you approach that on Emily in Paris, where you're actually the person who's there for the whole season, but there's a lot of actors that come in for individual scenes with you?
Yeah, it's different because like when you come in, you try to make the project your own, you know, and bring your stone to the construction, you know. But when you're here from the beginning, it feels like it's your thing from day one, you know. It's like your baby, you know what I mean, and you're way more involved. That's how I felt though. Yeah.
Yeah. I also love that you actually started out initially as a dancer, but kind of always were very interested in acting, and particularly screen acting. And you know, you had the opportunity to be a dancer on a lot of different television shows in France. And kind of like, what were the things that you started seeing when you were on set that really kind of made you much more interested in going to school and then studying acting?
Well, the thing is that I never chose to be a dancer. Honestly, I always knew how to dance, and my friend just pushed me around doing those shows and musicals and TV shows, and I was like, I just found myself on stage dancing like throughout my whole teenage years, you know. But I never saw it as a job. It was natural, like as you would walk, I would dance, you know what I mean. But then I had to know what I wanted to do, you know, for a living, and I always wanted to be an actor. So to me, it's two total different things. Like being an actor is a passion and a job, and being a dancer is just as normal as breathing.
Yeah. Is there a benefit though in the fact that you have that experience dancing and really thinking about choreography and movement? Does that influence the way that you think about the choreography of a scene and how you're going to move between different moments within a scene?
Well, I think it's a obviously I think it's a plus, but it can also be a minus, you know, because like being a dancer, you're aware of your body, you're aware of your surrounding, and you're in control. But sometimes being too much in control during a scene can make it, you know, inorganic and quite fake, you know. So you got to find that perfect balance to make your dancer skill a skill and not something that, you know, works against you.
Yeah. And you studied acting in both France and in London. And I was interested in kind of all the different classes that you were taking, from speech classes to movement classes, kind of, are there particular classes or things that you were taught there that you still think about when you walk onto set and that you still really use as tools as a performer?
Uh, yeah, a lot. Like because English is my second language, and when I arrived in London to study, I couldn't speak a word. I literally learned English during my year at drama school,
Yeah.
and what would help me a lot was being able to analyze a scene and analyze a character, you know, because even though I couldn't understand all the words, I could, you know, break down the scene, break down the script, and and still I'm still, you know, English is still not my mother tongue. So when I get a script, being able to analyze it, even if it's in English, you know, helps a lot. Helps a lot to understand what's going on.
Yeah. With the scripts for Emily in Paris, because the whole thing is kind of very much in franglais, did you always know which lines were going to be delivered in French and which were going to be delivered in English, or did that shift and change at all at any point?
Well, we knew it was written on the script, but sometimes during the day they would go like, "Oh, that sounds great in French. Like, say it in French." You know what I mean? Sometimes, but it was most of everything was planned, and yeah.
Mhm. When you're working in both languages, do you think differently about the way that you're delivering the lines, because there's such a different rhythm to both of the languages?
Yeah. Well, that is very true. That is very true. But I think like I don't feel like I'm thinking about it. You know, it just makes sense to me. Like French is so the rhythm. It's yeah, definitely so different from English. But I think that your brain does it for you. Your brain does it for you. You like you just switch the rhythm when you switch the language.
Yeah. I love the huge variety of types of styles of acting that you've done. You know, you've done film, you've done television, you've worked on a web series, commercials. You know, specifically for doing something like commercials, is that a very different style and approach for acting and way that you prepare before you walk onto that set, as opposed to something like Emily in Paris and the way that you think about shooting something like that?
Oh yeah, well, definitely. You know, when I think that commercials, like it brings out the dancer side of me more than the actor, because you still tell a story, but you're here to do the show. You know what I mean? But as like, but when you do acting, you're just here to tell a story and to be as authentic as you can. You know what I mean? You're not there to do the show or you know or sell anything except the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, like working on a commercial is just, be beautiful, smile, and do the show.
Yeah, and you also recently wrote and directed some episodes of a web series, Le Petit Prince. Um, what were kind of the most valuable things that you learned from the experience of doing that? And is that something that you see yourself doing more of to have more autonomy and more control over your career?
Well, it's like writing and directing and producing is definitely something that I like and that I would do, like that I would love to do in the future.
Mhm.
And directing my own web series and starring in it and writing it and like literally doing everything from scratch was very valuable things to do. It was like going to a cinema school again, like I would like it, like the process would be, a lot of failures after failures and after failures and a lot of time and sweat and tears, but we got there in the end and we've learned a lot. I know what not to do. I know what to do now. And but yeah, it's like I do want to tell my own stories, and I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. And also, when you were at acting school and you had that kind of end of year showcase where there's an opportunity to try and gain representation, I know that you actually came out of that with, two different agents at the time. And I was really interested in kind of like how you prepare for something like that, especially when you know that I imagine it feels like there's so much writing on that particular day. So kind of like, what did that look like in terms of the lead up to that showcase and the way that you were really preparing for it?
Well, like the showcase, honestly, the showcase when you're in drama school, to me, is the easy part. Like the whole years of drama school is the hardest thing. You're playing like so many characters at the same times. You've got like so many showings, song showings, movement showings, Shakespeare showings, like and then you have to do a play at the same time, like 2 or 3 plays at the same time, and then comes the showcase and you only have like 2 scenes. You got one job to do. So it's very, very like, it's like you take like weight out of your shoulders. And yeah, I just, when you're in that situation, you just tell yourself, don't think about getting an agent or anything. Just think about telling the stories. If you tell the story right,
Mhm.
well, something good might come out of it. And then
Yeah.
you just enjoy yourself.
That's so funny to hear because it's the opposite of what you think it would be.
Yeah, I mean, to some people, it's the moment where you get a lot of pressure, because it's the final line, But to me, I saw it in the other way around. I was like, oh, finally now I can just do what I was trained to do and enjoy myself.
Yeah. And you also have done theater work. You appeared in the National Theatre production of Anthony and Cleopatra alongside Ralph Fiennes. And I was interested in there's such an extensive rehearsal process when it comes to theater. And are there things that really taught you or evolved in the way that you prepare and develop characters that you still look to whenever you get a script now?
Uh, I think, well, I've learned a lot how to I like by looking at all those actors delivering the lines. I've learned a lot on delivery, mostly in classical English and theater, because it was Shakespeare. It's beautiful. It's almost mathematic, and I've learned that a lot, and I was really impressed by the size of the production as well, because the National Theatre is something very beautiful and big, and everything is mechanics. There's like elevators and swimming pool on stage, and it's quite impressive. So to see all of that come together with the acting and the music and the costumes and the makeup, uh, yeah, it was just for my own knowledge, able to see what is going on behind a production that big. So that was good to be part of it.
Yeah, and beyond it just being Shakespeare, with theater, it's such a different type of performance. It really requires a lot mentally and physically. Were there any things that you did for yourself to really kind of prepare for the mentality of like going into stage and really just giving that type of performance and that energy to the room that you needed to every single night?
Well, well, I literally I was like eating a lot, sleeping a lot, and having the most incredible conversations with my mates in backstage during hours, which just create that environment where you can just work easily then on stage.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever made theater acting sound so fun as that description.
It is, though. It is.
There's something that you have said when talking about auditioning that I really loved about the necessity to kind of like walk in and assess the room and read the room. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you do that, because every single audition space is different, and particularly even to what you were saying before about whether it's commercial acting, whether it's a television series, whether it's the National Theatre. So kind of what does that look like when you walk into a room, the details that you're looking for and the way that you read a room to decide what you need to bring to the table each time?
Well, I think that like you do need to be able to be aware of what people want and what the mood of people, and like what you come across and what you're supposed to deliver and everything. You do need to be aware of all of that, but you mustn't overthink it. Sometimes you just have to walk in the room and just listen, just listen and act accordingly. And no one can tell you how to act accordingly. It's common sense. You just have to listen and make the decision that I should go right because that's the right thing to do, and that's what will make me go forward and not left. If you then decide to go left, that's on you, but you got to be able to listen. That's what will give you the hints and the information you need to make your own choices, the good choices.
Yeah, I think that's such fantastic advice. And thank you so much for talking to us, not just about the scope of your career, but also working on the show. And I hope that everyone watching this, if they haven't already binge watched the entire series of Emily in Paris, will dive into it. Thank you so much, Samuel.
Thanks a lot. Have a lovely day. Thank you.